everyone. Good morning. Just making sure that the microphones are good. Can y'all hear me on the other side? All right. Okay, hello. Oh, hi, Jessica. Good morning. And good morning, everybody, too. Just to let everybody know, I got a few different platforms going on right now. I have the YouTube. Yeah. All the way down. Thank you. All right. So I'm just waiting for another minute because it looks like I got some messages of people hopping on board. But in general, good morning. What we are going to be working with today is for today's morning session, we are going to be focusing a lot on mindful movement, specifically working with our lower abdominals and our core today based on request. I decided to participate in doing a core class for the start of the day for the fact that, throughout this time, some of us have been at home through work related, and also because of the virus that's going around and having to stay inside and all that. And so, with that, a lot of us are probably feeling lethargic, probably are looking for a lot of energy to start your day with. And so, this morning, I constructed a core workout class with some Surya Namaskar flows and whatnot, so that it's not just a whole hour of working out, but you still get your yoga with it as well. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust this top camera over here. Let's see. Here we go. Awesome. So I have Mr. Sarge here that will help me with yoga today. In here for the fact that if he's in another room, he tends to miss me too much. So for the sake of the video, he's going to come and help us do some yoga today. Yeah. And so as we begin our practice, making sure that we are in nice, comfortable clothes. By chance, if you have a block with you or anything to really support you during this time, something nice and stiff, it could be as much as a book. You can go ahead and bring a prop with you so that we can use it for our class. A blanket is always a nice addition so that we have more comfort as we go through our asanas. And then maybe a pillow nearby, just really anything that can help with a prop, help you at ease to get through your class today. And so since a lot of our class is going to be core dominated, one of the pranayamas that we can practice that you will see throughout our class today is called the Kapalabhati breath. It is the breath of fire, and with the breath of fire, Kapal meaning skull, and then Bhakti means it go ahead and it means a shining. And so as we go ahead and work with our pranayama today, prana meaning breath, you can go ahead and find a comfortable seated position. And this is probably a good time if you need to put something comfortable underneath your seat. But any cross-legged seated position, having your tailbone just very slightly tucked and allowing engagement through the chest and lifting here. Just finding a supported spine, inviting a few shoulder rolls so that any tension that you feel in your shoulders can go ahead and ease away. If you are clenching at the face, you can go ahead and soften through. And so then as you work with your breath, very gently inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. Just finding a complete stillness here. Allowing your shoulders to be rolled up and back and engaged, and lowering away from your ears as if there's sandbags on top of our shoulders. Still leading with that confident chest lifted and forward, tailbone is tucked. And so with the Kapalabhati breath, or the breath of fire, how we work through this breath is very abdominal dominated, so we work a lot with our diaphragm here. And specifically with this breath, it is fast-paced breathing, where we take a deep inhale, and when we exhale, we release very short breaths, and we do it with very minimal force. It's just nice and sharp, and we are allowing the release of our abdominal to create that breath. And don't worry about trying to inhale as we release, because it will automatically do so. So just to give a quick example, we're going to take a deep inhale through the nose. And then as I exhale, I'm going to let out 20 short breaths, and I'm going to pull it in and out using my core to control that breath. And so then again, as we breathe here, we're going to take a deep inhale, and then as we exhale, we're going to release 20 breaths. And for a little disclaimer before we start that breath, for some of us that may have any hypertension, high blood pressure, any sort of like heart issues, or during this pandemic, if you are experiencing any wheezing, it's best to not fully practice this with a lot of short breaths. You can probably minimize the breath by a very slow count, like 10 breaths very slowly, like instead of. And again, we're going to use this by inhaling and exhaling through the nose, and they're just short bursts, and the inhale will be automatic after each exhale. So doing 20 more. Hands onto the knees, straight spine here. Taking a deep inhale through the nose, then exhale 20 times. Inhale, and exhale, release. Good. And with the breath of fire, we will be practicing this throughout certain asanas. And what this helps us with, again, the Kapali meaning the skull, and then the Vati meaning shining. So really, if you put that together, it is the cleansing of your mental state, as well as with all the other benefits. It's great for metabolism. If you're into weight loss, it's great for weight loss because of it manifesting with the metabolism, energizing your nervous system, and just overall creating heat for that practice. So I do encourage you to use that in the practice if you wish. And so then for the starting of our practice, then we can go ahead and open up our palms to take a deep inhale, bringing our palms up towards the ceiling, and then exhale, release into the heart center. Palms out to the side, inhale, rise. And then flipping the palms down, exhale, release. Inhale, rise, palms up once more. And then exhale, release. Good. And then you could go ahead from here and find some shoulder rolls. Since we're going to be working a lot with our core today, might as well bring a little bit of extra movement to the other areas of our body so that we can get some even workout throughout our body. Yeah. And then for some of you that like to flow with music, you are more than welcome to play your own music during your own practice for copyright issues and for preventing the video from freezing or closing down. I'm deciding to stay silent with music, other than the music of my voice to lead you. Maybe the music of our stomachs because we share our breakfast after class. So you might hear a growl or two. Yeah. And then we can go ahead and inhale, rise, bringing our arms again up towards the ceiling. Good. And then as we release, we're going to clasp our hands together. And then we're going to take our hands behind our forehead here. And we're going to root through the tailbone, lift up through the chest. And with our elbows, we're going to take them to the side here. So we are very gently pressing our head into our hands at the same time that our hands are into our head. Lifting up through our chest, elbows are back. And from here, we want to find that engagement of the muscles in between the shoulder blades here so that we feel nice and strong from the top of our shoulders all the way down to our spine. This is a great tool to use for when we go on our spine to work on our core exercises, that we understand the cooperation of our upper body to our lower body being fully engaged to find that support. Good. So find that lift through the chest, engagement through the shoulders. We're going to take a deep inhale through the nose. And then as we exhale, we're going to slowly start to bring our right elbow towards the right side of the room, towards the mat, rooting through our left knee. And then inhale to the center. And then we're going to exhale, root the left elbow towards the mat, making sure that our shoulders are staying back and not forward. And then inhale, coming back up. Exhale, bring the right elbow back to the right side, making sure that we create a lot of space in between the right ribs to the mat, as well as the left ribs to the ceiling. Good. Inhale, bring it back to the center. And then exhale, bringing the left elbow to the left mat, creating space in between the ribs, both the left side and through the right towards the ceiling. Good. And we're going to exhale, release it to the center. We're going to inhale, rise, lift it through the chest. Good, keeping the elbows away. And then as we exhale, release, we're going to bring the elbows forward, chin to chest, keeping a straight spine. Inhale, rise to the chest. Elbows fanned outwards. And exhale, release, bringing the elbows in, chin to chest. And 2 more times. Inhale, fan the elbows to the sides, lift it through the chest, engage the shoulders. And then exhale, bring it back to the center, chin to chest. Good. 1 more time. Inhale, fan up through the elbows, chest is lifted. And then exhale, bring it back forward, chin to chest. Good. Very slightly, bring your hands to the knees, chin still to your chest, into a cat spine. Then as we inhale, round through the shoulders, bring the chest up into cow spine. Good. And then from here, you can go ahead and find yourself at a tabletop position. And as we find ourselves into this tabletop position, we want to create a lot of space, or enough space in between our palms and our knees, so that we're not a shallow tabletop. Good. We want to create all that space. Knees are going to be below the hips. Good. And then from here, rotate the shoulders back. Find that cow spine. So inhale, lift up through the chest, tailbone up. And then as you exhale, bring your shoulders towards the ceiling and chin to chest into cat. Good. Inhale into cat. Exhale into cat. And go ahead at your own pace, your own breath. Find your own rhythm in your cat-cows. And from here, you don't necessarily have to count them. Just go ahead and create this movement for yourself. Good. And then maybe one more round here. Good. And then the next time that you find yourself into your cow position, good, you can go ahead and Find yourself into tabletop. Good. Curl your toes, and we're going to inhale, bend the knees up in towards our chest. Good. Finding that core engagement here. So hugging at the lower stomach, bringing the stomach to the back of the spine. Good. And then we're just going to sink our hips back, stretching up through the arms, keeping our knees bent. So a bent knee, downward facing dog. Good. We're going to take our eye gaze forward and either hop, step, or walk into your Uttanasana, your forward fold. And we're going to create a generous bend at the knees to start here so that we can allow the spine to be nice and long. And maybe pressing our hands onto the mat here so that we can find length through the tailbone and the lower spine. So as you keep your knees generously bent, pressing onto the mat, you can go ahead and bring that tailbone up and press your hands into the mat. Good. Hands to the shins. Inhale, halfway lift. Think cow spine here. Good. Exhale, forward fold. Bend the knees, palms to the sides. Inhale, rise into your high mountain. Good. And palms together. Exhale, Samasthiti. Inhale, rise, palms up towards the ceiling. And then bend through the knees, round through the spine, hands onto the mat. Good. We're going to walk into plank. So you walk into plank. We're going to bend the knees and then the chest to chin to the mat. Good. Shoulders back into cobra. Inhale as we rise, lifting up through the chest, pressing the feet to the ground. Exhale, release. Curl the toes. Inhale, rise, supported plank. Bend the knees generously into a supported downward facing dog. And then taking your eye gaze forward with your knees still bent, hop, step, walk into Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, find that half lift. Again, cow spine. Exhale, release. Bend the knees, palms face up. Inhale, rise into your high mountain. And then palms together. Exhale, Samasthiti. Good. And then one more time. We're going to inhale, rise into your high mountain. Good. And then bending the knees. Exhale, release. Hands to the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Hands to the shins. Exhale, release. Coming into your plank, going through a vinyasa flow. You can either chaturanga, engaging the core, or knees, chest to chin to the mat. As we inhale into cobra, really bringing the shoulders away from the ears, chest forward. Exhale, release. Curl the toes. Inhale, rise into your supported plank. Bending the knees generously, taking the tailbone up. Good. And then go ahead to your right side, rooting through the left foot. Good. We're getting a lot of these spinal lengthenings and stretching out through the sides so that we get more space to work with our core. Good. Inhale, press the palms together, come back to the center. Inhale, rise up through the chest. And then exhale, start to bend over towards the left side, rooting through the right foot. Good. Good long stretch here. And then inhale, rise, coming back in towards the center. Good. And then as we're here in the center, we're going to go ahead and take our feet. We're going to take it about hip length apart. Good. And then as our arms are up, we're going to engage the lower core, kind of tuck in the tailbone just very minimally, and then start to bend at the knees, coming into a chair position. Good. And so as we are here in the chair pose, if your knees are greatly over your toes, just go ahead and send that tailbone back. We want to be able to see our piggies here. And you can go at any depth that you would like. So this can be your chair if you'd like to squat down even more. Just continually to find that lift through the pectorals, through the chest. Good. Starting to feel a little bit of warmth here through the quads. Inhale, rise, high mountain. We're going to come back to that chair. So find that core engagement. Breathe in and exhale. Coming into chair. Good. Tailbone is back, chest is lifted, arms are risen. And then inhale, rise once more. Exhale, release, come into your chair. Your arms can be forward, or if this is too much for your shoulders, you're always welcome to bring them into cactus arms. Good. And then we're going to gently keep the chair position with our feet and our hips, but take the hands onto the knees here so it's like we are in a supported squat. As we're here in the squat, we're going to keep a little bit of that core engagement. To get a little twist here, we're going to inhale, send the left elbow and the left shoulder down, and inhale, look over your right shoulder. Take 2 breaths here. And then inhale to the center. And then exhale, drop the right shoulder towards the ground. I gaze over the left. 2 more breaths. Inhale, coming back towards the center. And then exhale again, bringing the left shoulder down. Good. Keep it in your squat. Inhale, come back up. And exhale, release the left shoulder to the floor. Good. Stay there for about 2 more breaths. Good. And then after the 2 breaths, you can go ahead and come back into your goddess squat position. Good. And then we're going to take our arms forward, still find that engagement in the core, still finding our knees in place. And inhale, take your arms forward like you would in chair. And come all the way up into the high mountain. And then bring your feet back into the center, back bend. Exhale, release all the way to the front of the mat. Uttanasana, that forward fold. Good. And then we're going to go ahead and walk our feet back into plank. And you're more than welcome to go through a vinyasa flow if you like. And we're strongly encouraged going through a chaturanga. So we're finding that core engagement. Our elbows are back, our chest is forward. Pop up through the back and inhale chaturanga, so half plank. And either flip the feet into upward facing dog or coming into cobra, any back bend of your choice. And then finding yourself back at a downward facing dog. And for starters, in this downward facing dog, let's go ahead and take our feet towards the ends of the mat so we have more room into our hips. Pressing your hands into the mat, our chest through our shoulder blades. Good. Tailbone is up, hollow spine. Good. And maybe start to find a little bit of pedaling or bending your knees side to side. Just anything to stretch out through the hamstrings here. Good. So it can be side to side, allowing any organic movement. So encouraging you to get deeper into your asana, into your folds. Good. And then slowly start to walk the feet back and coming into plank. And then dropping the knees. Good. So if you need to do a quick cat-cow to reset yourself, go ahead and do that cat-cow. And from here, we're going to practice the Kapalabhati breath, that fire breath, in a tabletop position, because we will go forward and use this in other asanas. So just so that we can get that sense of balance here, go ahead and find yourself at a tabletop position. And again, creating that good space between your hands and your knees. And then as you find this here, we want to have our hands press into the ground and puff up through the shoulders so that we're not just sinking into our shoulder blades. And we're going to do 20 breaths of that Kapalabhati or the fire breath. And then again, if you're feeling any wheezing or any heart rate, I would do 10 slow breaths of but through the nose. And for us that can't handle it, 20 breaths is through the nose as well. And don't worry about inhaling because, again, when you exhale, that breath is going to automatically inhale. So go ahead and find that, engage the core. Take a deep inhale through the nose and 20 breaths. Deep inhale through the nose and exhale, release. Yeah. We're going to practice that one more time. And so that, again, as we breathe, you want to make sure that you are engaging through the diaphragm and the lower abdominals. So you're finding that engagement. And then as you release, it's going to automatically inhale. So go ahead and find the tabletop position again, working with the fire breath. Deep inhale through the nose, and we're going to exhale through the nose too. Deep inhale, 20 breaths. Deep inhale, cow, back. And then exhale, calf spine. Good. So now we got that good practice. We can move forward with the rest of our asanas. From here to start in the tabletop position, we're going to go ahead and bring our knees into the center and take our hands far apart, side to side, and then come forward onto your top of your kneecaps into a supported plank. So it might be easier for us if we come into a supported plank first. So knees onto the ground, good, puffing up through the spine, and then taking our hands side to side here. Good. So as we're making this Y shape with our arms, and our knees are together, we're going to engage the core and inhale, send the hips over to the left side, keeping the arms straight, eye gaze over the right shoulder. Good. Inhale to the center, and then exhale, release, bring the hips over to the right side, eye gaze over the left shoulder. Good. Inhale, center, and come onto the left side, hips to the left. Good. Eye gaze over the right. Exhale, release it to the center. And inhale, hips to the right, eye gaze over the left. Good. And then inhale to the center. And do it one more time on each side. Your own breath, your own pace. Good. And then bringing the hands back in, either flipping the hands to do a wrist stretch. So either the back of the hands onto the mat in the tabletop position, or maybe sending the fingertips backwards, taking your wrists in front of you. Good. So any which way to kind of reset your hands here, your wrists. Good. And then as we find ourselves back into that tabletop position, we're going to go ahead and find that core engagement here and bring our left knee into our chest. Good. And then exhale into fire hydrant style. Good. So we're keeping a very strong core here. Hands are pressed into the ground. We're going to spread our knees as far apart as we can. That's nice and comfortable. And making sure that we're pressing the top of our right foot into the ground, or at least curling the toes so that we can keep the balance, whatever feels most comfortable for you. And then go ahead and find some circulations here just to wake up the hip socket a little more. Saying good morning, telling them that we're coming for it. Good. And then you can go ahead and reverse the rotation. Good. Even the rotations need symmetry. Good. So as we find this core engagement, we're going to inhale, bring the knee up towards our nose. Good. And then exhale, release, and bring the left foot up, flex towards the ceiling. Good. And then inhaling, pumping the foot up. Good. Exhale, release. And from here, inhale, knee to nose. Exhale, release, bringing that left foot back up towards the ceiling. Inhale, knee to nose. Exhale, back up towards the ceiling. And go ahead and do this 6 more times, a total of 10. Your own pace and your own breath. So find that core engagement. Getting nice and warm into the quads here. And a benefit is if you practice this, it'll shape your booty up. All nice and peachy. Good. And then once you have done your 10, good, you can go ahead and straighten out the left leg towards the back of the room. Good. And then place the toes to the ground and stretch out through the back heel. And then stretching out through the hamstrings as well. So lifting up through the left kneecap, engaging the quad. Good. And then inhale, bringing that back leg up into the balancing tabletop, the left leg. And then planting your left hand to the ground. Inhale, engage the core and rise your right arm forward. Good. So we're stretching our right fingers towards the front of the room, our left foot towards the back. Good. And then from here, 2 more breaths, find that core engagement. We're going to do a Kapalabhati breath here. So deep inhale through the nose. 20 breaths. Deep inhale, and then exhale, knee to elbow. Good, 2 more times. Inhale, knee to elbow. Exhale to the center. One last one. Good, and then slowly release, hands to the mat. Good, and then find yourself back at that supported plank position, spreading your hands out to a Y, and then do 3 sets of bringing your hips side to side. So inhale, the left hip to the left side, eye gaze over the right shoulder. Good, exhale to the center. Inhale, hips to the right, eye gaze over the left. Good, exhale to the center. Do 2 more times at your own breath, your own pace, keeping that core engaged, keeping your hands pressed into the mat, keeping your chest nice and active as well. And then you can go ahead and release, bringing the hands back into that tabletop position. So if you need to reset your wrists here, you can go ahead and do so. Maybe by flipping your hands, where your fingers are pointed towards you. Or maybe rotating your flat palms where the fingers are pointed towards you and your wrists are away from you. Good. Just checking in on time here. Okay, wonderful. Good. And then as you find yourself back to that tabletop position, we're going to go ahead and work with the right side this time. So maybe facing forward for a different angle. You can go ahead from here, and in this tabletop position, inhale, bring your right knee up towards your chest, and then exhale, fire hydrant style. Good. So keep pressing your hands into the floor, lifting up through the chest, and spreading your knees as far apart as you can. We all know who is the master at this pose. Over here, you practice it every day. Good. And then we're going to go ahead and find some circulations here into the knees so that we can work with the hip more. So keep lifting up through that chest. And then reversing the rotation. Good. And then as we reverse through that rotation, we're going to inhale, bring the knee back to the center, and inhale, knee to nose. And then as we exhale, we're going to flex with the right foot and pump it up towards the ceiling. Here we go. Inhale, knee to nose. Exhale, pump. Inhale, knee to nose. Exhale, pump. Go ahead and do it 7 more times, because that should be 10 now. So go ahead and do it until you reach 10. Making sure that we engage at the lower core as we bend here. Good. And then after you have done it your 10 times, inhale, knee to nose. And then flex through the right foot, bringing it back straight like you would in a balanced tabletop. And then plant the right toes to the ground, engage the quads, and sink into the right heel. Yeah. So finding that confident lift through the chest, engaging at the quad. Good. And then inhale, we're going to rise through the right foot, keeping it flexed. Plant the right hand to the ground, and also make sure that you're pressing to the top of the left foot so we keep that balance. So as we find that core engagement, that lift up through the shoulders here too, we're going to go ahead and rise, bringing the left arm forward. As if we're trying to reach something we can't quite grab. Planting our right foot to the back of the room and finding that lift in through our spine and in through our core, so we're not just dumping into our shoulders, we're being nice and strong. Good. And then from here, inhale, knee to elbow. Exhale, release. And do it 3 more times, or 2 more times to make 3. And then on our last one, when we find ourselves back into that balancing tabletop position, do the Kapalabhati breath. So deep inhale through the nose, 20 breaths. Inhale. Exhale, release, knee to elbow. And find yourself back onto the mat. Good. And then you go ahead, inhale to a cow spine. And taking your arms forward, exhale into a child's pose. Good. So making this child's pose nice and active so that we're stretching out through the shoulder blades, stretching out through the arms. We're going to bring the tailbone towards the ground. Good. Crown towards the front of the room, finding that length through that spine. And at this time, if you needed to reset your wrists at all through that balancing tabletop asana, you can go ahead and maybe clamshell the hands together and rotate them, or separately, you can rotate your wrists, flexing at the fingers, or maybe pressing the back of the hands together, anything to reset yourself. Okay. And we can go ahead and find ourselves back onto our tabletop position. Good. So the fingers are going to be fanned, palms to the ground, lifting up through the shoulders, coming into a plank position. Good. As we come into our plank position, we're going to rise nice and tall through the spine, through the shoulders. Good. Engage the quads, engage the core. Kapalabhati breath. We're going to take 20 breaths. Inhale through the nose. Be strong first before we find our breath. So make sure that we're nice and sturdy. And until you find that balance, you can then start your fire breath. So inhaling through the nose, Kapalabhati breath. On your last breath, take a deep inhale. And exhale, send it to downward facing dog. And go ahead and pedal out your legs. This breath also helps slightly with sinuses. So I'm definitely opening up over here. Good. So tailbone is up, chest towards the ground, hollowing out through the spine. Good. And we're going to round through the shoulders, coming back into that plank. Kapalabhati breaths again. So pressing your hands into the mat. Be nice and strong. Find your strength. Take a deep inhale. 20 breaths. Deep inhale. Exhale, release. Downward facing dog. And in this downward facing dog, spread your feet more apart, so create more width. And just like before, finding those bends side to side into the knees, tailbone is up, stretching out through the spine. Good. Nice. And we can go ahead and find ourselves back into that tabletop position. Good. And then in child's pose, just for a breath or two so that we can rest our arms and do some wrist therapies if you need to. Good. Maybe sway side to side, any organic movement. And then once you feel we're set, again, we're going to come back into that plank. As we come here into this plank, good. Being nice and strong, pressing your hands into the ground nice and flat and making sure that we are having a little bit of puff through the shoulders so that we're not sinking into our blades. Good. And then from here, we're just going to do some taps. So we're going to engage through the core and inhale, lift up to the right leg and bring it to the side. Tap. Inhale, back to the center, lower. Inhale, rise, side, tap, and then come back into plank. Inhale, rise. Right foot out to the side, tap. And then come back to the center and do this 5 more times. At your own breath, your own pace, making sure that we find that core engagement. We're not holding our breath. And once we've done this 5 times, you can go ahead, bend at the knees, downward facing dog. Pedal out through the legs. And then inhale, come back into that plank and do it onto the left side this time. So we're going to do a total of 10 taps. So we're going to inhale, lift up to the left leg and bring it to the side. Tap, back to the center. Inhale, tap, back to the center. Good. And do this A total of 10. Making sure that we have sturdy breath, that we're finding our core engagement here. Good. And once we find the tap, you go ahead, bend the knees all the way down, child's pose, rest the arms. Flipping the palms up if you need to, taking a breath if you need to reset through the wrists at all. Good. And then we're going to go ahead and one more time find yourselves back into a plank. We're almost done with our planks here. Good. And then from here, we're going to take our left hand just about 2 inches forward, so we're at a little bit of an angle. We're going to go into a side plank. So engaging the core and rolling onto the outer edge of our left foot. Right foot goes on top of the stack. And inhale, rise, bringing your right arm towards the ceiling. So for some of us, it may help to find ourselves at this angle. It may help us to stack underneath. So it's really finding the comfortability that works for you here. Finding the core engagement and lifting up through the hips. Good. And then exhale, release, aligning the right hand to the left. Good. Going onto the outer edge of your right foot, left foot to stack, engage through the core, and inhale, rise. Left arm towards the ceiling. Good. Take 3 more breaths. Good. Then release the left arms back into plank. And then inhale, rise, right leg back. Inhale, knee to nose. Inhale, straight back. Exhale, knee to nose. Do it 3 more times for a total of 5. Good. And then release the right foot. Lift up through the left leg. Engage the core. And then 5 times. Inhale, knee to nose. Exhale, straight. Good. Toes to the ground, bend at the knees, child's pose. Good job. Nice. And then you can slowly, as you come up through your child's pose, round through the shoulders, coming up into tabletop. And then just find yourself onto your booty. Take a drink of water if you need some water here. And then you can go ahead and find yourself nice and squared onto your mat here. Okay, 45. Okay, cool. Find yourself nice and squared onto your mat. Good, onto your booty. Coming into a boat pose. So having our feet, soles of our feet onto the mat, lifting up through the chest. Good. And then from here, we could go ahead and inhale, rise, bringing our arms up towards the ceiling. Good. We're going to rotate our shoulders back into the girdle and exhale, bring our arms forward here. Take 1 breath, lift up through the chest, arms are back. So planting the feet onto the ground and going to work with that Kapalabhati breath, doing 20 of them, or 10 if you need to slow down. So take a deep inhale through the nose, Kapalabhati breath. Inhale, exhale, release. Keeping the arms forward, chest is lifted, core engaged. Inhale, shins are parallel to the mat. We're going to do the Kapalabhati breath here again. Take a deep inhale. Deep inhale. Exhale, release. And then from here, inhale, rise. Arms are straight, engage the core. And inhale, flex through the feet. And inhale, bring them forward like you would in staff pose. But our heels are hover through the ground. Arms are up. Good. And then heels to the ground. Exhale, release. Paschimottanasana, hands to the feet. Good. Forward folding here. Taking a couple breaths for your spine. And we can go ahead and find ourselves, inhale, coming out of that forward fold. And we're just going to take our forearms to the mat here. Good. Our legs are straight. We're going to go ahead and point the right toes forward. Good. So point the right toes, the left foot's flexed to the ground. And we're going to inhale, rise, bringing our right leg up towards the ceiling. Good. So almost like we're having a little scissor. Over here, the right toes are pointed up. The left foot is onto the ground. Keeping the toes flexed. Engage that lower core. And slowly bring the right foot to the ground. Heel to the ground. Point the left toes to the front. Lift up through the chest. We're going to inhale, rise the left foot towards the ceiling. Keeping the right foot flexed and active onto the ground. Finding a little bit more opening through the hips, but also working the lower core to keep the legs lifted. Good. And then exhale, release. Go ahead and windshield wiper your feet to kind of shake everything out there. Good. And then you can go ahead and find yourself completely onto your spine. Good. And as we find ourselves onto our spine, we're going to take our hands and we're going to clamshell them and place them behind our back with our elbows apart. So like we practiced with the side bendings in the beginning of class, we want our elbows to be active away from our ears. We want our shoulders to be active. Our chest is lifted. We want to feel nice and strong and connected from in between our shoulder blades all the way to our lower spine. And so with that, if you need a blanket underneath your sacrum, I recommend putting some padding if you need it. Our chest is open, our elbows are out to the sides. We're going to keep a flat spine onto the mat. So we're going to inhale, bend at the knees, and bringing our shins parallel to the mat. Good. Keeping our elbows pressed in, into the ground. We're going to have the Kapalabhati breath. Inhale, and 20 breaths. Inhale. Exhale, release. Good. We're going to point the toes towards the ceiling. 20 Kapalabhati breaths. Inhale. Deep inhale. And bend at the knees. And point the toes forward. Feet are hovering. We're going to swing the feet up. Inverted staff pose, bend the knee into your chest. And then exhale, swim your feet forward. Inhale, rise, toes pointed up towards the ceiling. Bend the knees into your chest. Exhale, release, pointing the toes forward. Keeping your elbows connected to the ground and making sure that your legs are hovering this whole time so that we are using our core to keep us lifted as we swim here. Good. And do 2 more swims. The next time your toes meet up towards the ceiling, bend the knees in, take a break with your arms, hug the knees and rock side to side. And then this is a good time for something sturdy to grab onto. I would go ahead and grab that. Come on over here. Or over here is good too, guy. Lay down. And so with a block, if you have something sturdy, you can go ahead and reconnect your spine to the mat and your lower spine as well, nice and flat. I'm going to take our block. We're going to bend at the knees and having our shins parallel to the mat. Ourselves parallel to the mat here. We're going to bring our chin up and slightly lift our shoulders off of the ground, bringing our arms forward, connecting with the block. Good. And we don't want to strain with our neck, trying to take our eye gaze forward. We kind of want to find that lift to the chin towards the ceiling so that we can keep a good connection of our neck into our shoulders. Nice and strong here. Good. And so then, yeah, got your up dog. Oh, let me lay down. Good. So as you have that here, you can go ahead. Lay down. You can go ahead and take your block and inhale, bring it forward and place it to the side of your right thigh so that your left shoulder wants to make the connection towards the left knee. So not so much of like the arm and the elbow, but the shoulders, we get more chest work here. So as you have your arms extended here, we're going to keep the right toes pointed forward and nice and strong. And with the left foot flexed as well, we're going to take the left foot straight. Good. And we're going to kind of have that swimming action like we just did with both the legs, but with just the left. Going up, keeping that control and concentration, making sure that we stay engaged into our core, into our arms. Good. And do 2 more rounds. Good. Inhale, block into our chest. And then we're going to straighten out through the arms and lift up through the right shoulder and take it over the block towards the left side. And again, we're lifting up the chin towards the ceiling. We're not straining through the neck. And then we're going to go ahead and flex with the left toes, shins parallel to the mat. And then inhale, straighten the right foot up towards the ceiling. Good. And then bring it towards the front of the mat. Paddle the knee in. Inhale, lift up the right toes towards the ceiling. And then exhale, release. Hovering onto the ground, bring the knee in. Good. To do this 3 more times for a total of 5. Keeping that lower core engaged. Good. And then after you have done your 5, you go ahead and bring the block into your chest. Good. And just kind of roll off through the ankles. Give yourself a little reset here. Good. And then finding that lift through the shoulders and then taking your block over towards the right side. We're going to keep the right shin parallel to the mat. Good. And then inhale, straighten out the left leg and having the toes and the heel hover from the mat. Good. Inhale, bring the block into the center. And then exhale, take the arms to the left side, extending your right leg out. Inhale, chest in. Exhale, block to the right side. The left leg comes out. Good. And you can go ahead at your own pace, find these alternating motions here, making sure that we find that core engagement and connectivity of the lower spine to the mat. And making sure that we are finding more movements as we twist through the chest and the shoulder. Good. Rather than through the arms, so that we get good spinal movement with our flow instead of just through the arm sockets. Good. And you go ahead and do 3 more sets on each side. Making sure that you are breathing with your movements. Good. And then you go ahead after your 3, take the block to your chest, and then roll out through the ankles. Good. Good. For something a little bit more fiery before we go into our cool downs, we're going to go ahead and take the block. And we're going to inhale, rise, bring the block up towards the ceiling. Find engagement with the core and take your feet pointed forward. And then as your toes are pointed forward, inhale, bring your toes up towards the ceiling as you take the blocks behind you. Good. So find that core engagement here. Hips are still onto the ground. Take 3 more breaths. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, release. Good. You can take the block to the sides for now. Good. And taking your arms out to the T. Good. Placing your feet onto the ground and making them as wide as the mats. And go ahead and just windshield wipe your knees side to side. And then as you find that side to side, you could go ahead and drop the knees over towards the right side, wide-legged twist here. Good. And if you would like, you could take your right foot on top of the left thigh, and you could take your eye gaze over the left shoulder. Yeah. You go ahead and do a total of 5 more cooling breaths. And then you go ahead and release the foot and go ahead and swing your knees side to side. And then taking your eye gaze over your right shoulder and bringing the knees over towards the left side. And you're more than welcome to place your left foot on top of the right thigh to get a little bit more of a inner rotation of your right hip. Five cooling breaths. You all worked super hard today. You all earned those sweet, soothing, slow breaths here. Good. And then you can release the feet and go ahead and do a few more windshield wipes here. And then scooching your heels closer to your glutes. You can then go ahead and take your hands by your hips. And with your shoulder blades, you're going to be away from your ears, and you can tuck them underneath your spine here. So tuck the shoulder blades underneath, the chest is lifted. We're going to come into a bridge pose. And you have two options. You can make this active or you can make this restorative if you have a block. So shoulder blades are underneath. Plant your feet to the ground. We're going to inhale, rise, hips up towards the ceiling into your bridge. You're more than welcome to stay here. If you wanted to find a little bit of decompression, you can put a block right underneath your sacrum. So the square part of your pelvic, you don't want it directly onto the lower spine. You want it onto that square structures part of your hips. Good. And if you feel or see that your knees are splaying out, just concentrate your knees a little bit more inward so we can stay more aligned here. Help straighten out more through the hips. Good. You can even clamshell your hands underneath your booty here and kind of tuck your arms more underneath your spine and maybe use your forearms more as a stabilizer. Maybe you can find a deeper back bend here if that's what you're looking for. Good. Taking these deep breaths, allowing your Buddha belly to shine as you breathe. 2 more breaths. Take a deep inhale through the nose. And we're going to do Kapalabhati breaths here, so 20 breaths. Deep inhale. Release the hands. Exhale, release. Hips to the ground. Bending the knees into the chest. Go ahead and give yourself a nice hug. Rock side to side. We're getting close to the end of class here. So you can go ahead from here. Find your hands onto your feet into your happy baby pose. So we're going to have our tailbone rooted, our shoulders are rooted. Good. And having your hands to our feet, either on the inside or outside. And you're more than welcome to find stillness. Or if you wish, you can rock side to side, finding some movement. And then from here, since we're at the end of our class, you can go ahead and find any last stretches that you would like in your personal time. So maybe that's an inverted staff pose. Maybe it's a shoulder stand. Maybe it's a plow pose, taking your feet back. Really, whatever it is that organically would like to move during this time, you can go ahead and implement that into your practice for a total of 6 breaths. Then after your 6 breaths, you can go ahead and bring your knees up towards your chest. And take a deep inhale, bring your arms above overhead, and stretch your toes nice and active to the front of the mat. Take a deep inhale through the nose. And then exhale, release through the mouth. And you can place your hands wherever is comfortable at this time. And you're more than welcome to stay here and join me in a Shavasana. Allowing yourself to ground and root and reap in all the benefits of today's practice. Going through your own body scan of what feels longer here, what feels stronger. Maybe noticing some asymmetries into your body. Though the human body was meant to be asymmetric, it's totally normal. But it could also be used as a tool to find more symmetry in your yoga practice. Connecting with your breath, allowing the deep inhales nice and soft through your stomach, allowing your face to be soft, allowing any of the tension to release into your shoulders, into your jaw, unfurling your brows. So then as we lie here in your Shavasana, wanted to share a quote with you today by Ralph Ellison, that life is to be lived and not controlled. And humanity is won by continuing to play in the face of certain defeat. And I shared that quote as it resonated with today's practice, as we used a lot of our personal control in order to stay strong and resistant in some of our asanas today, but just giving that reminder that during these times in controlled self-isolation and trying to stay as healthy as we can so that we can impact our community in more of a beneficial way than detrimental. That is a good time to remind yourself that life at the same time is not meant to be a full control. That these times will pass and that you still have the full control and autonomy of yourself. You should honor your mind and your body and your spirit during times where it feels like we may not have control over it. So as you start to begin finding these micro movements from your toes and your ankles, your fingers and your wrists, just allowing your body to reawaken and enjoying every soft and sweet movement or flow of your blood as we start to recreate movement back into our body. And then on the next breath, you can take a deep inhale, stretch your arms up above your head, and bring your knees up and towards your chest. And letting it out with a cleansing sound. You can gently bring your knees to meet either to the left or to the right side. And you can feel free to meet me at a seated position. Allowing the Jali Mudra, the prayer mudra, to be present into the heart center as you take a bow to yourself and to everybody else that shared this space with us today, even if it's through the Ethernet or internet world, that we can give each and every one of us, ourselves and our community, our neighbors, and also the resources so that we can share this time together. Just giving all of your gratitude toward each and every one of these little aspects, and just allowing peace and health to be still for the rest of your night and throughout each and every one of your days. And meet you later tonight. Namaste. Well, thank you everybody that came to today's practice. I really appreciate it, but most importantly, in general, I know that Adventure Rock appreciates this very much because they appreciate each and every one of you. And we want to be able to make sure that we have some of these resources for you during these times that we have to stay inside. And especially when a lot of us want to go out in the climbing world right now, since we have to stay home, but we unfortunately uh, should it take those precautions to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of everybody else. So hopefully these resources are helping you during this time where we feel all cooped in, and we love you, and we are very excited to continue to share these videos with you throughout the next week. So I'll see you. Bye-bye. You're welcome, Eileen.